What is up, guys? How we doing? So, when you watch Supercross, you see the superstars. You know who they are. You know their stories because they do a pretty good job of telling you. But what about the guys in 15th? The guys that are trying to get into the night show? I like to grab these guys and just kind of tell their stories. I've been watching Devin Harriman for a long time, and he's been really good. But I always wondered what drove him. How did he get where he was? So I sat down and we went through his whole career and kind of broke it down. And he explained, his view of the sport, rider pay, and all sorts of good stuff. So this is Devin Harriman, the working man's pro. We have a few more days to donate to Jerry Robin and Hayden Bennett. They both suffered spinal cord injuries, and Coach Rob is doing a phone call. If you do a $50 30-minute consultation with Coach Rob, you can buy them for someone else. You can use it later. If you just want to donate $50, no problem. And Coach will match your 50, and then Nano Extreme will add another $50. Nano Extreme is the best high-impact chronic pain solution that I've ever used, and they added another $19,000 in addition. So both Hayden and Jerry are going to get a nice chunk of change for October. So thank you guys, and thank you to Coach Rob and Nano Extreme. You know my other sponsors, Ride Strapped, just really cool people, Alias MX Gear, and Precision Transport. So without further ado, this is Devin Harriman's story.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
But I don't blame them, I blame you!
Okay, all right, guys. So I've got a privateer that I've watched for a long time, and I see these dudes from the Pacific Northwest, and they're just badasses, but I don't know a ton about them. So I reached out to Devin Harriman, and I want to know what's happening. Who are you, Devin?
Name's Devin Harriman, 30 years old, been doing this for 26 years, Supercross for the last 6 years. I did arena cross back in 2016. That was my first time doing that. I missed the night show at Ontario, and then podiumed my next run, which was Salinas or arena cross, which was really cool for me. But yeah, I just been around for a while. Grew up in the Northwest, never left. Other than like once I turned pro.
So let's go back even further. So as I was checking the results, you had some pretty good amateur races. You battled with some guys that people know, Aaron Plessinger. You have races against Adam Cincerillo, Cooper Webb. But then you kind of vanished. Like your results disappeared for a while, and then you started popping back up around 16, 17, 18. Tell me how that transition went from amateur to pro.
So like you said, it's super funny you say that about AP, Cincerello, and all those boys. I was doing some lessons the other day, and I was going to this kid named Connor Mitchell's house that's used to beat Cincerello, Webb, all these dudes on 50s, and Blake Green's another rider that's really fast. But he's done now. So I was heading to his house. I said, look this guy up in the vault. So we looked him up, and like while I was in there, I saw my name. And I didn't realize I like raced with AP and Webb, Hampshire, some other boys as well. And I looked, I was like, oh, hey, look, it went Webb, me, and then AP at a couple round at races at Loretta's. But yeah, so I went to Loretta's 4, 5, and 6, or maybe 5, 6, 7. 08 made it. Got hurt like 2 weeks before I was supposed to leave. And Dad's like, all right, we can either take a year off and go on big bikes, like 250s, or we get back on it and we go on a 125. I said, I'll take a year off. Never really took a year off. We just jumped straight to 250s. But I knew where I was at, and I mean, I did care, but I didn't. And in his mind, like he was like, all right, cool, we're not going to try for the Redders. So it never worked out. So I still rode, always rode. And then I want to say, I got the trophy right there. The last trophy I had was from a national. I want to say it was 10. 2010 was the first national I showed up back to. Maybe no, I did 08, Mammoth in 08. But yeah, 10 was the last amateur national that I did. Actually amateur national was World Minis on a 125, which is really funny because obviously I wasn't going to do that. And I did that. I whole shot and faded back to ninth. Tucked the front end in the second moto. I whole shot that, but tucked the front end, came back to ninth, fought to ninth. On a 125, I rode that bike twice. Once, actually, the first day I rode it, I blew it up at Paula. Second day with practice. at World Minis at Mesquite. And then I think I just got into high school and found out where females were, found out, stuff like that, right? So I started playing water polo, which is not a normal sport that most people play. Um, Played that all the way through school. I did a lot of BMX riding. My dad's always like, I've never worked out other than when I went to Raynard's. I've never put anything into the sport. I mean, I've drinking a Mountain Dew my entire life. Like, it's not a,
So you're racing amateur nationals against these top guys who are their goal is to become a professional racer. Did you have that goal? Did you have something laid out that you wanted to do?
I mean, yeah, kind of, right? Like every kid wants to be that a professional rider. And yes, I mean, at the end of the day, like that was a dream of mine was to race Supercross when I was younger. Never did I think it would happen. I've asked my dad this before. He goes, I never thought we would get to where we're at now, which is cool. So it was always a dream, but was it anything like the actual reality? No, it wasn't. It wasn't something that we thought would actually happen. I mean, I'm good friends with like Chris Aldridge still. Um, and he came and went. I mean, I grew up with Justin Hill and Chris Aldridge. Those two boys were at my like local races every weekend. Another one that's done and quit early or got hurt was Brad Frace and Matt Pachilia. I had and Landon Curry, right? So that was our group. Like we had a solid group of dudes here in the Northwest that we would all battle with nonstop. And that's who I'd go ride with. And obviously, like, I mean, I beat, and you can ask Chris himself or Justin, like, I didn't beat Justice as much as he's beaten me, but I beat Chris more than he beat me. So, like, I kind of had an idea on where we're at. I mean, when Chris signed with Yamaha, I was like, okay, sick. Like, I'm right there with you. I just don't have the financial support to be at every nationals like they wanted, right? Um, and that's kind of where, like I said, '08, I got hurt, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna step back. Um, Once I stepped back, we never took it as serious. It was more like a weekend warrior. It was like, I got into high school, I think in '09, 2010, maybe. I don't remember when I got into high school. Um, so it never got super serious again. We did that nationals and I did all right. I didn't do great in the other classes, but it was not the end of the world to me. It was like the first national to see where we were at. And the following year, I got out of high school and I like not lost interest, but my dad expected more, right? Because like, hey, to build a 250 is 5 grand, right? If I'm going to put this much money into it, I expect these things to be done. Go work out, go run, go exercise. I never did any of that. I was just, let's go ride, right? We were just riding 3 to 4 days a week. Um, and it gets expensive, especially when you get on big bikes. You got to use, race fuel. You got long lists of stuff that adds up. So it's quick to get expensive. So he said, I'm done putting effort into this if you're done putting effort in. I said, okay.
Wow. So did your dad look at the pros? Because people have this myth that when you become a pro, you make money, you become a star, but you really don't unless you become a top pro and get one of those fat contracts. Did he kind of see the writing on the wall that maybe you weren't willing to go there and then he didn't want to support it? Like, how did that go?
No, I wouldn't say that, right? He didn't know anything about the sport. He never raced. I mean, fuck, he had a KDX 200 that he grew up in Iowa and rode road ditches. Like that was his thing. Like he'd never been to a dirt bike track, right? When we first got a bike, we went to Jim Anderson's house here in Washington, and Jim's like, "Hey, like, what are you doing with this kid? He can ride." And I was on an XR50, and Jim's like, "Well, I'll help you out for free, but you get him off that bike. If you don't get him off that bike, then I'm not going to help you." And my dad's like, "Dude, I just bought the bike. What do you mean?" He goes, "I'm not." So, I'm not. No. He goes, "I'm good." So my dad had no knowledge in the sport at all. He obviously gained some throughout the years. He had Darren Courier, Landon's dad, as a big influence on him on what we could do, what we didn't want to do, type deal. Um, but again, we didn't have the funding to go to these races to do all this stuff. So like it was never like I guess in his mind a thought like okay he sees Landon getting this deal He's with Canada Suzuki, right? Or he's with Red Bull and Yamaha. And all he's making good money. And that was pretty much as far as it was. Like he knew there was money in it, but did he know that it was like no money in it, like for myself? No, he had no idea. And again, 2012 was his last time buying me a bike. He bought me a RMZ 450. I was 17 years old, I think, and I smacked the ground. I think I rode 6 times that year, just because I smacked the ground so much. Um, so yeah, he had no idea really on what he was getting into. But again, it was never his idea of like, hey, let's get into dirt biking. Like my mom got me, she was a realtor when we were living in Louisiana. She got tickets to a arena cross race down there. We went and saw it, and that was sick. And once we moved back up to here, I was 5, and I said I wanted a dirt bike, and that was the end of that story. The end of the cheap story, or end of the cheap life.
Did it bother you in like 2008, 2009? So now you're kind of taking a step back, not riding, doing, whatever you're doing when you see Justin Hill, Chris Aldridge was on pro circuit at that time, Bishelli is having successes, all these dudes that you're just as good as. Did it bother you seeing them having success when you weren't?
Yeah, I mean, and kind of, right? Because like what bothered me, I remember seeing Chris Aldridge all the time on the Yamaha commercials during Supercross. As an amateur, right? He wasn't racing Supercross at the time yet. He was on the Yamaha commercial. Um, and that bummed me out, but at the same time, like I knew where I was at. I knew I was faster than them at times, right? He would always get me at nationals sometimes, or most of the time when Chris and Justin would. But again, like, and I tell all the kids, the parents that I train now, like when you're in front of those riders and you're with those riders all the time, you're gonna have that confidence to beat those riders. I didn't have the confidence to beat the other riders that they were beating at the nationals, right? So therefore, like I was just getting my ass handed to me. I had the confidence to beat them, but not to beat the other riders. So it's I always knew where I was at with them. And when it came to like amateur racing and everything like that, I kind of just like I guess you could say wrote it off that like, yeah, they're better at nationals for sure. And then when I saw that, that's when like when they all turned pro, and like especially when Justin Hill won his championship, I was sitting on my ass at my home, sitting on my ass on my house, my parents' house, and I was like, damn, I was just racing this dude like 3.5, 4 years ago, and like I've beaten him. Like I can remember like simple, like dude, he didn't go to dinner with us the last time I beat him. Because like back in the day, we all used to go eat dinner afterwards, after the races, right? On Saturday or Sunday, we'd all go eat dinner. Nah, he didn't eat. He went straight home. Like Monty was pissed, right? And so I mean, like I knew where I was at, but at the end of the day, like to see where they're at, I was like, damn, if I just had the money, right? And not saying we didn't have money, obviously we had money to do it, but I didn't have the funding that they had. And nothing against my parents, right? Like they both worked their ass off, but they knew, I guess, like you're saying, it's not worth going in debt for.
That's the thing with a lot of these amateurs. They look at it and they go, "Oh, there's this huge," and they're financing. You've seen them do it at the training facilities,
Oh,
mortgaging the
dude,
house.
stupid.
It's insane, but there's not even really a carrot at the end. So, okay, so you lay back in 2008, 2009. When did you start taking it serious again? Was it around 16 when you did the arena cross, or what were you doing? Just local races, having fun, construction? What were you doing?
Yeah, so graduated high school. Went to actually in high school, I was working at KFC. It was my first job. Uh, Went from KFC, I went to Les Schwab's, which is a tire company on the West Coast. Worked there for a little bit, and then I just bounced around. I ended up going to like roofing. I was a roofer for 6 months. Um, I got home one day after riding in the van for 2.5 hours with a bunch of chain smokers. So I'm done. Didn't even show up the next day. I said, no, that ain't for me. And then I went down to a local arena cross race down here. It was like December or something like that. Or maybe it was, no, it was PIR, I think it was. So it was like May 2014.
So a few
So,
years have passed now.
so 2013, I was in metal shop, and my metal shop teacher would allow me to leave the school and go to the fab shop which I eventually got a job at. And this guy was in there running the shear press, and he was like, "Hey, what's your name?" I said, "Devin." He goes, "That's what I thought." He says, and he gave me like the background. He goes, "Is your dad so and so? You used to show up at the track in a blue truck?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Dude, you're hauling ass. You're fast on a dirt bike." I said, "Yeah, I used to ride a lot." And he says, "That's cool. I used to watch you all the time." I was like, "Oh, cool." Long story short, that dude's like, "Hey, I'll give you my truck," because I didn't have a vehicle at the time. I see he goes, "Come here when you're out of school at 2:30, grab my truck, go to your house, pick up your bikes, and I'll take you to PIR," which is, are you familiar with PIR?
Yeah, I love PR. I've been to that Thursday race there. It's sick.
Yeah, so he goes, "I'll take you to PIR. I'll pay for your entry fee and everything." I'm like, "Oh, sick, right?" Mind you, my dad's like stepped out of it completely because I don't do a damn thing. I don't work out. I don't train, nothing. He would always, refer to Chris and everything that he's doing. Dude, I don't fucking care. I'm not doing it, right? Uh, and in high school, I knew at that point, like I was fully aware of what the pay was. And that's again where I was at kind of and why I was kind of okay with being done, I guess you could say. Because I was like, dude, there's five people in the sport that make money. Like
It's
when
true.
I say make money, like just to list dudes right now, you have Lawrence's, so there's two, Roxon, Tomac, and Sexton, and Webb. But other than that, right? And I guess you got Deegan, Deegan,
Yeah, I
Deegan.
mean, there's a few, there's more than there was, but you're right. It's ridiculous
There's
how
it's
low the
very far
number is.
between. Yeah, like without Deegan's social media, right, and obviously him just dominating, um, he ain't making the money. You look at second place in the 250 class. Those dudes are making, $300,000 a year is their base contract, right? 350 depending on to do what? To risk their life, So I knew where I was at. I knew at that point, like, yo, Chris, Justin, they're all gone. They're killing it, which is sick. I wasn't willing to do it. I was okay with it. So, um, Chase was like, "Hey, I'll take you here." I said, "Okay." So I went and I did that like 3 to 4 weeks in a row, and then somebody came up to me there and was like, "Yo, like, John Monafo." He's like, "Hey, would you be interested in running some stickers? It's called U of M Max." I said, "Yeah, absolutely." He goes, "I'll pay for your entry fees." I was like, "Oh, sick, okay." And then did that for a couple of weeks. I got to know him pretty well. And then Arena Cross started up and in December or November or something like that. And he's like, again, we're just talking. I went over to his house before or afterwards, just ate dinner or ate lunch or whatever before. And then my dad and I got in a huge fight and we went like 3.5 weeks without talking. I was living in his house. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, do you know anywhere down here that's hiring and or that I could live?" He says, "I got a house right next door and I can get you a job at my house or my job." I said, "Sick." So I moved to Battleground from Longview. Um, I started working HVAC. I did that for a year probably. So in 2015, I moved down there and I had just a beat to shit 2012 Arm Z450 and a 250, 2010 250, I think it was. And I got rid of the 250, got rid of the 450, and I went and bought a 252 stroke on my own. First bike I ever bought. And I was like, "I'm just going to go have fun." He goes, "I got a bike for you to ride. You race this bike and your 250 and the 450. You race your four. I'll give you the 450 and you race the 250 and 250 class." I said, "Okay, perfect." And he's like, "Hey, like, what else do you want to do?" I said, "I don't know." I was like, "I'm kind of just over it." He goes, "You're done." He goes, "You have your pro license?" I said, "No." He goes, "I'll help you get your pro license." I said, "My outdoor license?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." And at this point, I had rode in '09. I rode or 2010, I think it was, I rode a milestone Supercross track, on outdoor suspension. Like, and from that point, I was like, "I'm never racing Supercross. This shit, that stuff is gnarly." 2015 comes around. I got my pro license. I had to have Brian Barnes write me a letter because again, I'm 19 years old, right? I don't have the funding to do this, to have to travel to all the stupid ass races that they require you to do, right? To just hold a pro license. So I did all that. And then later on, I was taking a kid named Preston Baselug, I'm sure you're familiar with.
Of course. Yeah.
I I got to become really, really good friends with him. Like I was like I was calling his family like mom, dad, grandma, right? Actually, grandma just passed away, which sucks. So, uh, but Preston was like a little brother of mine, and like still is to this day. And Don was like, "Hey, would you take Preston up to do a class with Tommy?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So I went up to Shugo with Tom and Preston, and at the end, I was leaving. I said, "Later, Tom." He says, "Hey," I was just bullshitting with him. He says, "I said, what are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, just trying to find a mechanic for me in Europe." I said, "Oh, I'll go to Europe with you." Just as a smart ass comment. I said, "But I'm not going for free, or I'm not going to not ride." He goes, "All right, whatever." He goes, "You got a passport?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "All right, cool." Well, like 4 hours later, he says, "Hey, do you actually have a passport?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "All right, I got a bike for you and your flight's covered to Europe." And I'm like, "Whoa, for what?" He goes, "It's a Supercross." I said, "Oh, so it's a Zooterbrook Supercross in October." And I was like, "Oh, fuck. I've never done Supercross. I've done arena cross, but all right." So I did that, and then that was kind of what started that. So I was like, all right, well, cool. But originally, Joe and Jamie Munifo both got me back into the sport, back got me racing. When I moved down here, I was right next door neighbors. Like my bikes all stayed there at their house. He worked on all my stuff, and really they took care of me. Like they paid for a lot of stuff for me. And like without those dudes and Chase, I probably would have never got back into it. Because again, I was young. I'm not. The least I was worried about was a vehicle to get my fucking dirt bike to the track that I was riding once a month, you know? So that was that. And then 2016, I ended up back going over to Europe and I blew my knee apart. Um, but before that, I did arena cross in Ontario, Salinas. Then I finished out the West Coast swing of arena cross.
Yeah, and you had some good results. You podiumed, didn't you?
Yeah, podium Salinas. I actually went from dead last. I won my heat race. They docked me for tripling on a red flag, but they threw the red flag out, or they threw the cross flag out on the face, so I wasn't backing out. And I don't know if you remember, but Salinas was a mutter. It was outdoors. It was the only one they ever did outdoors.
Yeah.
And that's my shit. Like the outdoor arena cross stuff is like that's what we do all up here, right? Um, so it worked perfect. And then they allowed the arena cross, the amateur days on Saturday and pro races on Sunday or whatever it was. So it worked perfect. So I put in that, and then Tacoma was I think the next round, and I was in fourth on that, and then got all screwed up and dropped the front end over a triple and had to bail. Yeah, I finished out the arena cross, which was good, and then I went back over to Europe, blew my knee out, and I thought, oh damn, that sucks. Like, what do I do? So I was off the bike for 11 and a half months, 10 and a half months. So all 17 off. And then I was working construction for a big sponsor of mine, CFP Construction. Aaron was actually somebody that I lived with once I just moved out of their house actually like 3 months ago. I've been with him since 2018. Um, so I was working in at the beach and doing a slab for Walmart with him, pouring concrete. And I called Stanky. I said, "Yo, like, what are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, just getting ready for arena cross." I said, "Oh," I said, "What would that cost me to do it with you?" He says, 2 grand. I said, "What's that entail? Like, what do I get out of that?" He says, "Everything." He says, "That covers your food and or that covers your hotel and your gas. So what do I got to pay for? Your entry fees and your food. Say less." I said, "When should I come down?" He says, "First rounds, I don't remember when it was. It's like middle of or early of January." I said, "All right, I'll be there." So I left like middle to end of the December. I had 4 hours on a bike in a year and a half, or a year almost. Um, and that was an absolute shit show. I'm sure you saw results were not there. Like I missed a night show multiple times. I was there. All the 18 arena cross, I was there. I just sucked. Um,
Yeah, with 4 hours of prep the year before, that doesn't leave you with like you're racing
no.
against dudes that take it pretty serious at that point.
And those 4 hours, like that's over like a couple months span because I had my knee surgery. My last knee surgery was February 12th or 14th um, of 2017. So I mean, 6 months after that was ACL surgery, right? So what's that? I got very little time. I got 4 hours on a bike. Out of those 4 hours, I crashed twice. I knocked myself absolutely silly on one of them, and then got hurt again on the other time. I went up to Canada and hurt my shoulder. Came back down here, and drain plug fell out of a bike, and I was out cold. So I hadn't had like both times I had rode, had crash, and then 18, yeah, 4 hours on a bike and rode like a pussy.
So when did you decide to try qualifying for a Supercross? And now are you having to work a regular job while you're doing all this? Did you quit that job to go do the arena cross? How'd that work?
At that, yeah. So I was working for Preston for a while. I ended up working for Preston for like a year and a half, and that didn't work out. And I was just not getting paid what I was wanting. And so I went to work for Aaron for doing some concrete work, and which was fine. Again, like I thought, I was like, whatever, right? The plan was never to race Supercross. The only reason I got my Supercross license in 16 was just to say I got it. Because I had asked Preston's dad, I said, "What's your biggest regret?" He says, "Not accomplishing a couple of things that I wanted to do when they were so close. Quitting before I was able to accomplish." I said, "Okay." And that's why I got my outdoor lessons and why I got my Supercross license. Because I didn't care if I raced a Supercross or an outdoor. I just wanted to have it. 2016, I think it was the first year I raced outdoors, and then obviously I got my license as well. Um, and then 18, so I did the arena cross thing, and like halfway through arena cross, we found out that they were closing, like there was no longer the Amsoil. So I'm like, well, damn. So I asked Stinky, I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "I don't know. Somebody will buy it." So I'm like, all right, cool. And then mind you, again, I'm not racing Supercross. Like I was scared of Supercross. And it's like November and nobody had bought it yet. I'm like, well, fuck, like what do I do? I was like, all right, well, I'll just go race Supercross. I got my license. I can just give it a go. I didn't know what to do. Didn't know how to practice. Didn't know anything, right? I mean, I don't know if you know Stink Dog's program, but it's
Probably
fucking,
loose.
there's no fucking program, right? Like you just show up, you shut up and you ride your dirt bike on Friday or press day when you get there. Like there was no practice between, you know? And so I don't know what I'm doing. And I called Blair because he was in NorCal at the time. And I go back to normal work for a little bit, and I was working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I think it was. I would take half the day off on Thursday. I'd drive down to NorCal, um, practice at REP, and then Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Because Monday they would prep the track, and I'd have a fresh track, so I'd practice on Monday and drive home and work Tuesday, Wednesday, half of Thursday, um, which is 9.5 hours back to Vancouver, Washington.
Yeah, that's a pretty good haul, dude.
Yeah, so it's for 3 days of rate, 3 days of riding. Right, I'm just trying to get ready for it. And then so I called Blair. I said, "What do I do? Like, I don't know what to do." He goes, "Don't go to the track," because I didn't think I would make the night show. My biggest goal was just to make the night show. And I called Blair. I said, "What do I do?" He says, "Don't do anything more than 5 laps. Do like a 7, 8 lap warm up, but that's about it. Figure the track out, not 8 laps, and then come off the track and do like sprints. That's all you got to do." So that's all I did, like in November. And then I was like, dude, I gotta figure something else out. So I drove down to California and showed up there like middle of December, December-ish, rode the same tracks that everybody else got to ride, and like did the same thing, did 2 laps, 3 laps. And not because that was what my plan was, but because like I was so in my head, these dudes are blowing my fucking doors off. Like guys that I'd be anywhere else, they're just blowing my doors off because they've been on this track for a month and a half, 2 months now since October. And I hop on this track, I'm still trying to figure out how to jump the fucking triple out of the corner. So
Yeah.
I had a lot of learning to do. And yeah, and A1 19, I remember asking my dad, I came off the track in 21st, I think it was. And I was like, damn. Most people, I was like, they probably don't have their transponders on. Right? Because like this is B practice. I qualified 21st. I was sitting 21st. I was like, they probably don't have transponders on. Second practice time, first time qualifying. Um, I was 20th. I was like, whoa, like
I
how?
remember seeing your name pop up and I was going, who is that?
Yeah. And Carson was right in front of me. And I ended up qualifying 21st, I think, that night. Um, which is like again crazy because I had no expectations. I didn't think I was even good enough to even qualify for the night show. And then 10th place in the heat race, 5th place in the LCQ. Qualified, I don't know where I was at for qualifying on Glendale, and then we went to Glendale and I qualified in for my first main, second at the second round.
Wow. That's pretty impressive, dude.
Yeah, so I
And
was
let me go back. You were driving all the way from Washington to go to RAP. I mean, there's tracks in between. Was it just because they were prepping a Supercross track for you? What was the reasoning?
that's the only Supercross track, and it wasn't even a Supercross track. It was a shitty arena cross style track that like Corbin Hayes had built and people had built down there. At Riverfront is where it was, and I'm good friends with Dare, so I would just go stay at Dare's house and drive my Chevy Colorado with two bikes in the back, a toolbox, and a bunch of gear and everything else I had in the back, and drive down there.
And then you said you're on Stank Dog's program. Was he hauling your bikes? What do you mean by that?
I was staying with so Stank and I we had just a fucking white van, just your everyday econo van. Not it wasn't a Sprinter van, it was your Chevy. There was a Ford van. It was dude, we had three bikes, I think, or two bikes in there. Sleeping on the way there. It was rough. It was a rough program. It wasn't his best years where he had the Stank bus. It wasn't like that. We were roughing it, but dude, it was so fun. Like him, he's done so much for me, so it was fun.
That's cool. So then you went to where, then you got, now you pretty much, I mean, now your goal is to make a main if you show up, right? Are you going to do any more Supercrosses? What's the plan for you moving forward?
I'm done.
You're done?
I'm no, yeah, I'm done. I'm over it. I
Yeah. Well, that's not true. You were racing like a few weeks ago at some fair race where this dude took you out in the last turn and you stood on his bike, Michael Lessie style.
fuck that guy. I'm not done racing, but I'm done doing it for what you could say a living. Um, if I get a wild hair up my ass and I lose 15 pounds, and maybe you'll see me A1. I just talked to Rainer today. He goes, I don't think that's a great idea. I said, I haven't had a lot of them, but that's one of them. And I might race A1 and maybe Seattle. If Seattle's a mutter, I'll do that one. But yeah, I'm done. I did everything I wanted to do. I got a national number. I did more than I wanted to do. I ever even thought I could do. Got my national number, raced on, I had a fill in ride for AEO or AJE. Made multiple mains, scored my points. Well, I'm 30 years old. I know where we're at in the sport. Davey Coombs, they fucking failed. They don't pay me worth a shit. So it's why? To do what?
Yeah.
I can't travel and go race and still pay for a house out here.
It's crazy that the sport and the people around the sport, and I'm sure if you watch my show, you've seen me bitch about
Oh,
it.
yeah.
It's insane that they don't put anything back into the riders. Like you're one of the best riders in the country. You can make a main event and you don't even cover your expenses to go hit the race.
I got paid for 13th.
What's
I
that?
got I got two 13ths.
Yeah.
Do you know what that pays back in the day?
Oh, back in the day, it was probably like what, 750?
22, either 22 or 23. I made six out of eight mains. For 13th place at A3 was a crasher. I went down three times in the LCQ and still made the main. 13th, I got 990.
That's disgusting. That's disgusting. And you paid what, 200 to enter at that time?
I paid 225 to enter. I paid 350 for a license. I paid my mechanic $300. I paid for a hotel for $400.
Oh, see, and what I'm not like, people think I'm trying to get these promoters to just pay these guys. I just want them to pay a percentage of the profit. Those stadiums are full. When you go to Arena Cross, they pay back what they can. But if you look at the ticket
Yeah.
sales, they cost less. They're in a little podunk stadium, and they're allowed to pay the riders more than Supercross does.
Yeah.
There's money there.
Fuck yeah. I mean, there's a reason I went like back in 23, I think it was, and even 24. Yeah, 24. I was doing arena cross on Friday night and supercross on Saturday. I mean, fuck, when I got hurt and did my tib fib in Arlington, I raced in Hobbs, New Mexico that night. That Friday night, that night I made $2,400. Not all purse money. What I did was I took my personal shirts, I gave them to them, and they sold my shirts at their merch booth. And then they gave me a percentage. Why the fuck can't anybody else do that?
Did you see the Partzilla Arena Cross? They're doing that for the guys. And I
Yeah,
was like, if you're a privateer trying to make a living, why wouldn't you go jump on board, let them help build your brand, sell your merch? It's
yeah.
crazy.
I get it. But yet you have Hayden Deegan selling merch out in the pits, but I can't sell Logan Cardinal. I can't sell our fucking t-shirt, sell our t-shirts at our own tent.
Well, they don't want him selling them. He forced them to do it, and that's part of the problem. They're giving him crap.
Wait, what do you mean they don't want Deegan selling them?
They don't want Deegan. They didn't want Jet, and I believe that's a lot of the reason they destroyed Lucas Myrtle was because he kind of leveraged Feld into. He said, "Listen, I got all these top riders. If you're not going to let us, like we're going to sell our merchandise." And they strong armed him. I think you're frozen there.
Uh,
Oh, there we go. Okay. So, but yeah, he kind of strong armed them. And I think that's a lot of the reason they executed him the way they did. And Deegan has kind of done the same thing. And that's why he's getting so much crap from them.
hmm.
Yeah. They don't want you to have any power whatsoever. Did you see they kicked Road to Recovery out because they were doing, if you gave $50 to Road to Recovery, they gave you a gift bag. Prater came over and kicked him out of the pits because he said that was cutting into t-shirt sales. That's insane, right?
The money that what t-shirt they were making. Do you know what it costs to rent out a venue?
I have all the stats somewhere. I have one of the guys that used to run the races broke it all down for me.
I would love to know. It's funny, Mike Forkner and I were just talking about it. I'm willing to bet like A1. What do you think that costs? 250?
I don't know. Like I said, I could look it up. I'll pull it up and put it on the screen for the people who are watching later.
Yeah.
But
I'm willing to bet
they're in the profits before the first ticket sold. All the expenses for the event, the dirt, everything is covered by the Monster sponsorship and the other sponsors. By the time the first ticket sold, every single ticket is pure profit for Feld.
tell me this. Does Star Yamaha, Rebel KTM, all these teams that come in, do they have to pay to to get their parking spots?
They don't, but they sponsor the series and they give like 1 million or 2 million up front. I'd have to check to see that. I've got all these numbers somewhere, so don't quote me on them, but they pay a significant amount of money and then they get their tough blocks and they get special treatment at the races. So that's why they call them their partners. Why they do that is insane to me. They should be making the series pay them to be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't know if you saw my pit setup this year. I had three big domes, and I tried to get as far up front as I could every time. And I forget who it was that was working with me because no, they pay their money to get up front. That's why they're always up front at the very beginning of the fan entrance. I'm like, no fucking way. They're making like okay, so like they're making so much money. But what I'm getting at is this 250,000. Say it's 200. Say it's 500. You're telling me however many seats are in that stadium at Anaheim, that place is sold out. Has been for the last 4 years. You're not making enough money. I'm not telling you to pay me or pay no offense to David Pulley, but somebody that's not making the night show money,
I
right?
agree.
Don't pay them. But the guys, your fast 40 for Supercross and your fast 40 for outdoors, come on.
Well, okay, think
Like,
about this. So you saw the payout for the SMX rounds, right? It's pretty decent if you're in, if you make that top 20, you get decent money, right?
no, you don't because how much money does it take to get there? They don't pay
Hold
you
on, hold
enough money to get to
on.
that.
I get that. But let's say every single round pays that much.
Yeah,
How many people would be able to chase the dream because they could make it into the money every week?
way more.
It would change the sport. You wouldn't have to depend solely on sponsors. You could actually make a living just being fast enough. And it would just change the whole face of the sport, in my opinion. Like you could go chase this. You'd have a reason to do it.
Yeah, I would go racing. I wouldn't be done.
Yeah,
But unfortunately, I'm 30 years old. I want to have my own house. I've bounced around. I've been couch surfing for 8 years now. I want my own house. If they were to pay, say 5 grand a fucking round for 40th, right? 40th to 20th, 22nd, right? It's not a lot. And then you go up a little bit like they did. Each position used to be $10. I don't know if you're aware of that. Each position used to be
I
$10
do. That's crazy.
for fucking a 13, so 12 plates. I was making $1,000. Dude, no. But anyways, so take your $5,000 for your 40th to 22nd or 23rd, you could say. And then from that spot, then it goes up to 65, 7 grand, like they have. And then so forth, right? Like it's stupid. It's the pay is ridiculous. But again, like I said, if the paid better, I would continue to do it, but it's not worth getting broke off for. I mean, dude, last year I got landed on and was damn near like another inch to the left, I'd be paralyzed type deal. I lost all feeling up here. I don't have a deltoid anymore. Is that worth the fucking $1,000 that they're going to pay me for just qualifying? Or the $2,000 it's going to cost, if I were to make the main? No. Like, dude, I want to walk down the aisle. I want to, enjoy life. And
And
it's
it's
more,
and, it,
the risk isn't worth the reward.
and it's tough though. So if you're just doing it from a financial aspect, there's so many different ways to make money that are
Yeah.
way less risky. We do it because we love it, because it's
Yeah.
fun to take this challenge. It's fun to race our dirt bikes. But the thing is, it's just because it's fun. Lots of sports are fun. I saw yesterday professional tag. Did you know that's a sport?
Like,
Tag.
tag, you're it.
Like tag, and then they run, but they put like
Oh,
scaffolding.
yeah.
They kind of like, I didn't even know it was a sport. I Googled it. Top tag players make six figures. I'm like, are you serious? A sport, tag, that I've never heard of, I just happened to catch on TV. They make more profit because they don't have the expenses you guys have. They make more than racers. That's crazy to me. If there's one thing, okay, I'm giving Devin Harriman one thing to change about the sport. What would you change if you could only
Okay.
change one thing?
Okay.
How would you structure the pay? Profit sharing from ticket sales? Where does the money come from? Would it be from the media deal? By the way, the media deal is going to be about 100 million a year for both, motocross and supercross. That's what NBC is going to pay them per year if they get market value, and I can't see them not getting market value.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the market value is only going up. Like the
What's that?
sport's growing. I said the sport's growing.
Yeah, it's growing. It's probably more than 100 million, but I'm just saying market value has it at 100 million. So where would you bring the pay that you give the riders? How would you structure it? You're going to be the rider rep. You're going to Feld and MX Sports. What are you telling them?
I don't know. I've never thought about the percentage thing like you said. But I think if you're making night shows, you need to be making six figures.
I agree. Absolutely.
100,000, 100 base, right? I mean, look at the PGA guys. Look at golf. Base pay, if you have a hold a PGA license, is $500,000.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. And here's the thing though, is they always say, oh, we don't have the money. If
Oh,
you open the books and showed profit sharing, see, that's why I want a percentage. I don't want, if they're spending all their money to put on the event and they're not turning a profit, I'm sorry, you guys aren't going to get paid.
I saw that thing you posted a while ago of the I think what was it? Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it the profit shares that they're sharing? We get 0.5% or 5%.
5%. You guys are lower than the WNBA in profit sharing. That's money reinvested into athletes from different sports.
Oh,
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Yeah.
So I lost you at yeah, that was the profit sharing.
You lost me at
5%.
5%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what goes back to, and that's counting. That was a figure where I brought in all the money coming into the sport. That didn't include their expenses and stuff. It just to basic what sports put back into their athletes, and it's the lowest of any considered professional sport.
Not to mention we have to pay to entertain you.
Yeah. Well, and if you look at UFC and some of those, they have to pay for their licensing. And there's some organizations that have fees, but they're quickly covered up. Like they're quickly compensated for them where you guys aren't. But it's weird how they have this mentality that you're just fortunate to be there. Did you ever feel like they treated you like that when you were there? Like you're lucky
I'm a
we're
fucking
putting on a race?
I'm a monkey in their circus, is all I was.
And they made you feel that way too, right?
Yeah, they don't take care of you at all. I will say Justin, the guy that runs parking, he took care of me so well this last year. He did a great job. But that was because I built a relationship with him. But I saw multiple other people, I mean, get absolutely harassed, right? Like Krista Politelli and Austin Politelli during COVID, they had their van parked somewhere where John from Feld, the fucking musclehead guy, said, "Hey, you can park your vehicle there." He had that vehicle towed 45 minutes after they told him they could park it there. And then Mike, I had Mike's number, so I called Mike. I said, "Hey, where's the car? Where's the towed?" They towed it a mile and a half down the road in a parking lot and parked it in the way back. What the fuck are you doing? Your employee told them they could park there.
Yeah,
And
it's
then they
crazy.
made him cover the tow bill.
Of course.
Not
Oh
with
my
the
gosh.
$1,000 paycheck that he got that night from the shitty race.
Yeah. Well, what would you tell somebody who wants to be a professional racer? They're 16, 17 years old and they've still got that dream. They're not banged up like you. What would you tell them as far as advice? What should they try it? Should they go arena cross? What would you tell a future professional racer?
Learn how to market yourself. There's no, so I started this thing, a company called Hard, Harriman Athlete Racing Development. And it's going to be to train kids, but at the same time, it's going to be like a manager. I'm going to help the parents manage their kids and turn it into a business, right? Like uh myself, Logan Carnell, Starling, and Morantz, us four, I feel like, have done a great job at selling ourselves to sponsors, you could say, and understanding the business behind it to where it doesn't cost us a dime to go racing. And that's why I started this thing is because I see so many people pulling that second mortgage for their house, going broke. You guys, it doesn't take that. Like you can make money to do this. And I used to get harassed all the time, like, oh, if you can't afford it, don't go racing. Listen, buddy, I want to go racing, but there's a reason I'm asking for money. Because when I sell that company, right? It's so like Fusion Graphics is a company I work with a lot. The reason they give me so many graphics is because I sell them 10 sets a year. Active Gear Company. The reason I have my deal with Active is because I sell multiple sets of gear, right? So if I can take this company, let's just say not Block, but Buffalo Wild Wings, right? Let's say they give me, $5,000, $20,000, right? If they give me 1,000 gift cards to Buffalo Wild Wings for here's a free appetizer for your next purchase when you come in to buy a meal, and I send them 1,000 people, they make their money back. If you run it like a business and you sell yourself, it's easy to go racing. It doesn't cost anything, right? Like if you can understand like there's value in where we are at and what you can do as a person, then it's easy, right? If you don't want to be that guy to advertise, you don't want to be that guy, that salesman, I guess you could say, then grab a set of golf clubs and go golf because you're not going to make it far in motocross because it's so damn expensive and they don't take care of you.
Yeah, the way it's set up with money, that's
No.
the only way to actually make money unless you're Jet Lawrence, and there's only one
Yeah.
of those. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Awesome. All right, well, hey, I've kept you for about an hour and
You're
after
good.
work, nonetheless. Thank you for the time, Devin. Hey,
Yeah.
where can people find you?
Harriman 216 on social media. Harriman, yeah, 216 pretty much anywhere and everywhere. So,
Yeah.
is there a way I could sponsor plug my Legacy Custom Canopies?
What's that?
So I own a business, Legacy Custom Canopies.
Oh, yeah.
I do a lot of the privateers. Is there
Okay.
anything we could do with that?
We can tell people about it. At least they can know
Yeah.
where to find you. What are you thinking? Well, we can
Uh,
talk. We can talk after this is done. But
yeah.
yeah, of course.
I do
Where can people find this legacy?
on
Uh,
Instagram, website,
okay.
legacycustomcanopies.com or Legacy Custom Canopies on Facebook or Instagram. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I do a lot of the privateers. I'll do like B-Rays. I'll do Kevin Moran stuff. I do, or not Kevin's, I do Carnals, Starlings, Stankies. I do pretty much all the privateers you could think of. I do all their stuff.
Well, yeah, and I mean, as these guys and they have to build their own business on their own marketing
Yeah.
dime, that's important, man. The look is important.
Yeah, and that's what got me into it because I was selling spots on this canopy and like, hey, here's a logo. I mean, ask the car now, right? Like you sell a spot and that's 10 grand. That OnlyFans logo up top, that's 10 grand. You want it, here it is, right? Learn the value. That's, I guess, another thing that I could tell the kids is like learn your value. When you learn your value and you understand what you're worth to these people, you're the cheapest salesman they're gonna find. If you're a salesman, right? So you could pay me $20,000 a year. Right? Say Buffalo Wild Wings pays me 20,000. I'll be the cheapest salesman they will ever find because at the end of the day, I'm going to X amount of races. I'm going to 17 races, right? Or even if it's 9 races, I'm passing out 1,000 gift cards for a free appetizer. That free appetizer is $2. They're going to come in and they're going to buy a beer and they're going to buy a meal. So learning your value, I think, is a huge part of that, like what I would tell the kids. And which goes back to why I want to help with that hard thing is to teach these kids how to earn their value, learn their value, and to like create relationships. That's a massive thing. That's a very important thing, is creating a relationship with your sponsors and staying loyal. Because I mean, dude, when you're not loyal and you bounce from sponsor to sponsor, it's hard to get sponsors afterwards, and it doesn't build a relationship.
Yeah, it's crazy how many motocross racers take, and they think that the results make them this more valuable product. It's not. It's doing the things like what you just said, having the canopy, handing
Yeah.
them out to people, being their professional marketer, because that's all they really need.
Yeah. It's funny, Bryce from motorsport.com, I work with them a lot. And he said, I could give Jet Lawrence $100,000 and I could give you $10,000. You're going to post. And if Jet Lawrence only is in contract to post 3 times, all he's going to do is tag a post, make it one post. I'll make multiple posts every time I get something from them, right? That 10,000 is going to go a lot farther than the $100,000 that he gave them, right? And it's true. Like results aren't everything anymore. Since social media is here, results aren't everything. It's not, nothing about David Pulley, but look at David Pulley. That dude right there is another great marketer. He don't make mains. It's nothing, right? It's not that he's not fast. He's good. He's a good rider. But there's a lot of fast riders as well. But that guy has sold and understood marketing so well. And it shows everybody, look, no mains here. One of the highest paid privateers.
Dude, I'll tell you what, I look at Pulley's program and I'm like, that guy's dialed in the sense of the marketing, the way he presents himself. He does a hell. If I'm a sponsor, I get what I pay for with David Pulley.
100%.
So,
and then you got the guys that here's $5,000 and they show up in a Walmart canopy with no logos on it. You guys telling a sponsor they get exposure on TV when you're going to be fighting for 15th place in the LCQ, you're not getting any exposure. Nobody can see your bike. When people are walking through the pits, they're not checking out, looking and zooming in your sponsors, and then Googling the sponsors. Right? It's what you can do for them.
dude, that's awesome. All right, well, that's some great advice. So, thank you for the time, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's start this off by saying, we got them. The illegal sale of American motorcycle racing. I present a case that reveals how the American Motorcyclist Association's 2008 sale of its racing properties constituted an illegal transfer of public trust into private hands. My name's B. Maisie, and I'm here to stir shit up. So I made a song for you guys. You know, it's crazy that the riders still gotta pay to race, even though these guys are just filling their pockets because they're money-hungry, greedy, stupid mother, ex-circus owners, but still got the same mindset for the Supercross. Screw Feld, screw the AMA, and screw Rob Dingman. I'm reading your obituary. It says you died in 2008. I guess selling souls is a business, 'cause you gave it all away. But your cause of death was suspicious. Lord knows your soul was lost. I am just a witness, 'cause I know who killed motocross. 'Cause I know who killed motocross. This is the arraignment for NASCAR failed entertainment. I am just a witness, but I gotta make a statement. I speak for the people, 'cause we can't remain complacent. The illegal sale American motorcycle racing. The devil is a wingman, his name is Rob Dingman. He wanna kill the future of the moto kids in dreamland. How selfish do you gotta be? Treat us like cheap property. Package us up and sell the whole sport to a monopoly. This is very legal, they don't care about the people. It's like NASCAR and Jordan, man, this practice is deceitful. Private entities manipulating what we love. The DMG extorting the AMA, a bunch of thugs. This happened to Planet Fitness, the dark side of business. Rest in peace to motocross, 'cause I will never forget it. your obituary. It says you died in 2008. I guess selling souls is a business, 'cause you gave it all away. But your cause of death was suspicious. Lord knows your soul was lost. I am just a witness, 'cause I know who